Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to RSC. It is the B stream, but more importantly, it is the first week of the full regular season. I'm back at it again for season number 8. And with that being said, I'm done as well. I'm joined with a familiar face that I've been working alongside very much closely and a fan favourite, of course, within the community as well. Boopy, how are you?
I am wonderful. I'm so excited to get into this one today. Premier tier, tippity top of the gameplay in RSC. First game for both of these teams, and it's going to be a stream one, and I'm really excited to see them play.
First game, the tip top, as you've been saying, it is the Premier Division itself as well too. That makes it so much more interesting. It's effectively no cap, realistically speaking. All the players are near enough bubble level. £1,000 on the line. Of course, playoffs in a couple of weeks' time. We will reach to that stage. 10 teams in total, but 4 of them in terms of the matches already played. This means this is the 5th and last remaining one, so we might as well talk about the previous results coming into this one, which is Flame versus, well, the Oreos itself, which was actually on the main channel an hour ago before this match. It was pretty much a Sebadam Helios show, being 3-1 series-wise.
3-1 series, and it puts them in a very interesting spot. They're in a bit of a three-way tie at the top of the table at the moment, sitting around that 3rd place, but in a three-way tie between goal difference and that sort of thing. And it is interesting, the standings at the moment, because no one in Premier has actually done a 4-0. So if we do see a 4-0 today in this stream, then they will be taking the top spot on the table, and that is something that we may see coming into this series.
Well, seeing it and that being the case as well, we might as well tell you the leaderboard itself. In terms of that, there, Ignite Luna, the sponsor itself, and of course, a particular Archeon's GM, he's sitting quite pretty as well, being 3-1 in that position as well. The bottom 3 as a Sound, Dark Magic, Alright, and the Confectionery, as previously mentioned. The only draw that's happened, overturn, apologies, and Internet Explorer, being that 2-2 that happened earlier in the week as well too. And you might be wondering, a draw? This is unthinkable for the bubble scene. It's not. It's been done before. The likes of Leafly and Telelegan being 2 of the prime examples of a draw being the case. And Boopy, a set of 4. You might want to explain the rule set there.
Absolutely. A bit of a new and weird one for some new players not very familiar with RSC. It is a 4-game series. So you can win 2 games, you can lose 2 games, and you do get a draw. You don't have that 3rd game to settle the score. And one match this week actually being a 2-2, and yeah, it means that, again, we were talking earlier about if the 3-1 with Flame, leaving them in that tiebreaker. If we see a 2-2 today, these 2 teams both also join that tiebreaker for 3rd and 4th, for 4th and 5th position. So really interesting what's going to come out of this match. The score really will depend on where this team is actually going to come in the standings, and you really want to get yourself up high in the standings early on, because you don't want to be down bad fighting your way up the table later on in the weeks.
Well, speaking about tables, we've mentioned effectively higher all the standing has been. I've said 8 teams, and as you may have been hearing before, this is the last remaining match. That moves us quite nicely, I think. Two teams as well. One certainly will be challenging for the RLCS coming this season as well. To how far they will get, that will be a mighty question as well, but we'll leave them for last. It will be Forge or Vulcan, as we've seen beforehand. And Boopy, this is a roster that some will be sitting here sort of going, okay, but surprised with some of the names on this lineup, but, and this is the massive but as well too, they have recently been signed as well too.
They have. They've been signed to Trinitas Esports, I do believe is how you say it. Not 100% sure on that, but yeah, they have been signed, and they're looking strong coming into this one. Power Shot, a player kind of name spread all over Liquipedia. been in quite a few teams and had quite a few interesting results. The other two not as prominent, but two very strong players nonetheless, and they are going to form a wonderful roster we'll be seeing later today.
Well, we'll be seeing plenty of that roster hopefully here today as well too, as there is a slight bit of an issue slightly that has arisen, but we'll get on to that potentially in a moment. But that RLCS team VIBE vibing, well, that is a side of roster with such a potent history in a short period of time, baby. It's almost unthinkable to imagine that is where they are.
For sure. I mean, we've got the elite of the elite today, vibing on the screens for everyone to see, and they have been playing with each other for about 2 months now. But previous to that, they do individually all have about two plus years playing tourneys at a really high level. Nice Cactus, Alienware, Eurorat, that sort of thing, and they have had really good results in those tournaments. So it will be interesting to see today how they perform against Vulcan.
Well, potentially how they will happen as well too. One of the actual difficulties, surprisingly, but I haven't heard this one in a while. Technically, a mic issue happening right now, which they are looking to get sorted in a few seconds. That's what slightly has caused the delay. But with that being the case as well too, VIBE VIBIN, we've slightly mentioned their criteria in terms of how well they've played so far. Now, of course, within this league itself here, but they have played some reasonably difficult tournaments, and, well, I'd be a bit surprised here if this isn't a strong performance coming from them tonight.
Absolutely. They've played together for a long time. They've been in multiple tournaments together. Wonderful results, as we were saying before, and they also have quite a well-known coach as well in the RSC community. Kada has been coaching a lot of elite players last season. Now, as the new tier has been introduced, coaching higher tiers such as Premier themselves, and he is going to be coaching VIBE vibing and really making sure that they all fit together, play well together, and hopefully take this series.
Well, we will hopefully see that one being developed later on as well too, being other sort of points of interest that may interest some players. Some people may not be interested as well. The main channel is streaming as well. The regular sort of elite down the prospect is happening. We will be following that later on as well too, so stick around for those particular actions too. But Bibby, there is sort of one sort of element that I always like seeing, which is an Irish player onto the pitch, one being Shane on their opposition. Not necessarily the most necessarily notable, but has a small rise in stock, as a good friend of mine would say, in terms of tournament level. Recently been saying that should indicate a performance happening there, but I'm not saying, is this going to be this potential 4-0 sweep that no team wants to receive this week?
Well, that is the question. No team has been 4-0'd. The worst result coming out is a 1-3 so far. So being that one team this week in week one that gets swept, it just puts you in a really bad position. You're right at the bottom of the table, no wins to your name, and you've just got to start battling and climbing your way up the table. And you don't want to leave yourself in that position right out the gates. So that would not be very good for either team. But yeah, Shane, as you say, an Irish player coming in. When I was searching earlier today, I couldn't find much of him or Futura on Liquipedia. They don't have pages themselves. Their teammate Powershot has been around the scene a little bit, but Futura and Shane kind of new to the Rookie League sort of high level, and maybe they don't have that experience that the VIBE vibing roster do if they have been playing for 2+ years at that level.
Well, with that being the case of the high level in terms of the elements so far here, it's somewhat a technical issues seem to be occurring here by the forward roster side, we haven't received an update so far here. I've just happy told Vibe to set and free play. It has been 7 minutes. It's slightly getting into the territory where it's a DQ, at least in game 1. Potentially that will be the admin's call that they might need to look into here, because I'm not saying, we've talked about the match here, everybody's expected a bit of a show here. It would be such a disappointing element here if a side refuses to play, which I must say slightly dampers the event a little bit.
Absolutely, and you know, with events like this, especially coming into week 1, every single game matters, and having these sort of issues that take the time and force the team to forfeit a game would be just detrimental. You need to play every game, and you need to take advantage of everything that you can, and yeah, we are sitting at 8-9 minutes late to the series, and there are a few issues going on at the moment with no updates, so I'm not sure whether we want to take this to a little tech break.
Well, we might as well take it to a tech break as well too, and we will update you once we actually have a full admin's decision. And typical, they have decided to show up here when we were going to head to a break. But selfish, these players here, Booby.
Absolutely, I was so ready to grab some snacks, grab a little glass of water, prepare myself for this series, but looks like we're not going to be able to. One team, the team that wasn't showing, has joined the lobby. The other team has left the lobby, so we will need to get them back in. But we are ready to get this one underway when that other team rejoins.
Well, they will be rejoining quite literally shortly. They are full professionals, the opposition in VIBE VIBIN, and do you know what? There's no point in waiting. The waffling, as some would say, is done. Vibing will be playing from our fabulous blue side of red, however. The side that has been recently been picked up. The side that needs to prove a lot of people wrong tonight.
Absolutely, and I kind of want to throw you in the deep end here a little bit. You know, VIBE VIBing very well. Well, you know all these players very well, and how will you see this game going?
Well, I'm going to say quite literally VIBE VIBIN dictate tempo. If they don't come out and take the only advantage they have, well, it's going to be a difficult night for them as this game truly gets underway, and a decent few blocks already. And Parshot, technically, if you want to talk about Liquipedia notability, but he's the only one that has the page, but his two fellow teammates played in tournaments like Wild as well too, the leading Irish event there, so could have easily been racking up a few points to get one of their own.
Absolutely, and starting off a little bit back and forth, demo coming out, but nothing is going to be found of it. It's just the teams just passing the ball between each other at the moment, not really finding any opportunity to score. Shane's going to get it clear to the corner. A demo coming out, but bit of a mistouch from Futura there. It's going to get midded, and oh, that should have been the first goal there, and it's going to hit the crossbar and go out.
It could have been a moment, but credit to the side that maybe slightly written off by a few people within the community, or defending as if their lives depend on it. And Crispy trying to take out a life there. There's Spectre on target, and VIBE VIBIN using experience both in the back lines, baby. Reasonable rotations coming out here.
Reasonable rotations, good pressure. A lot of demos coming out as well. A few from Vulcan, but mainly from VIBE VIBIN, just getting physical, trying to get the play. And Shane diving in there. A little bit of a bump on Power Shot, but it's not going to be punished. Power Shot getting the clear to the sidewall, and Crispy throwing a little shot on target. It's going to get dealt with quite easily. Again, Spectre just trying to mid this. I think a double demo coming out, and all the pressure is on Vulcan at the moment.
It was pressure, and VIBE VIBIN has done well to return back the sender. They really haven't been placed under much so far, and basically half the game flip reset, waiting for the delay. Try to force that one in, and Crispy couldn't toe poke it in, so we have this forward side really trying to find the metalwork right now, and another save off the woodwork. Shane makes sure it's pushed away, and Boopy, for all that they have been receiving, it's sponge-like defence.
Absolutely, nothing really finds the back of the net apart from that one power shot. Gonna come in, and after all the pressure, all the fight and all the battling on Vulcan's goal line, VIBE VIBIN is going to be conceded on, and they're gonna go down 1-0 in this series.
Shock to the system. VIBE VIBIN down. Nobody thought that was a possibility. But this is the Premier Division, meant to be the top of the cream. We'll see who will be certainly rising to that crop here. There's 2 minutes are remaining on that clock, and a pass into the middle, surely beckoning for somebody, not happening. And Spectre, the former Irish player who broke my heart, and we had a brief chat, going with his home birth, I believe, of Lithuania, representing respectively so, and a pride of a nation on his shoulders here going into that RCS, while he is trying to bump the keeper, not happening. That 1-0 lead looking slender.
Looking slender indeed. A 1-goal lead, especially in this sort of setting, really doesn't mean much. One can be put in very easily, as one almost does, but power shot coming back, just getting the save. Crispy going to put pressure on, a little bit of a whiff coming up from Futura there, and the pressure again still on Vulcan, and they are going to get the equaliser. They are going to find the answer, and it's going to be a 1-1 series.
It's unfortunate, but we expected a few potential maybe mistakes here and there happening, but without being the case, it is 1-1 in Boopy. Let's look at Spectre in terms of that sort of leading goal scoring. He has been playing the likes of Europe. We briefly touched on to that 1.5 goals he scored in that particular event as well too. So he's due one, and in fact he may be due a second one shortly.
He may, and 1.5 goals coming in, but also 5.5 shots. The pressure he puts on is just unmountable. He just puts all this pressure on and just slowly cracks the defense. And his teammates as well putting a lot of shots on, 2.5 from Mingo and 1.75 from Crispy, so they really do put a lot of pressure on, just try and crack that defense, and we're seeing it here. Futura trying to get a clear, but it's not going to leave their half. A dunk coming in, and it's going to go to Crispy, but Shane coming in with a 50 now, trying to hit this mid, but again Mingo getting the dunk, getting another dunk, and it's really locked in this Vulcan half.
Well, the confectionery was on the A stream an hour ago, and if Boopy was casting, there would have been quite a lot of dunking there, because the tea would have been out of liquid as Mingo decides to put the juice onto that shot, and from a side that was almost ready to stun in game 1 has been silenced.
Mingo putting his first one on the board. We were talking about the Euro Rat stats just before, and only 0.5 coming up from him per game, and he's going to pad his stats a little bit here. A nice dunk coming in from Spectre, trying to force the issue. Mingo trying to hit it into space, and no one's there. Futura going to get the clear, and a nice dunk from Crispy. All they need to do is just let this one drop, and it will. VIBE VIBIN going to take the first game, and it did look a little bit ropey for them at the start, but here they are. They've taken game 1, and they're coming in fighting.
Normally don't like mentioning this sometimes, but on VIBE VIBIN's official sort of Twitter, if you are following that particular team, I would suggest you do so. They actually made a point of making this as a reference, and they are still continuing, Boopy. They've got matching profile pictures. That's team synergy, I suppose, the one element. Not their official logo, but whatever of their particular fancy that may be the case. But Boopy, 1-0 to the side that we expected, but not the opening game that we were potentially alluding to.
Not at all. Vulcan opening up quite strong, scoring their first one kind of halfway through the game. It did get equalised nice and early from VIBE VIBIN, and they got the second one, but they do need to be careful. They were putting all that pressure on, but they did end up getting punished for it on the counter, and maybe that's something we'll see more as we go on.
And the series goes on. It's up to these two teams, and how their season is within their own hands. Will it be, unfortunately, destiny, or will it require a bit of intervention to get into the playoffs? But that's a conversation for another time. As Spectre to Crispy, the link for seasons within the bubble scene has been there, and they're trying to link up here. It's Mingo, outstanding normally. Inspector taps that one in, and aside in red, almost bewitched on that one.
And this is what we expected to see. VIBE Vibing really settling into the series now. Wonderful pass down to Spectre, and he's just going to tap that one home. First goal in the net already, 30 seconds gone. And very, very different to the last game. It took them a long time to score, a long time to find that goal, but 30 seconds in, they found it already in there. Looking for another one. It is going to get cleared by Futura. Spectre smacking this one up in the air, but no one's really going to follow that. Crispy has got the read off the ceiling as well, trying to drop it down to Spectre, but they can't quite find the touch, and Spectre's going to hit the post, but it doesn't matter. Minga's going to force that one in, and the second goal coming in nice and early already.
Getting pre-jumped, almost looked confused, almost looked like he needed a parent to guide him home. That one, 2-0, costly mistake, and when you're looking at potential favourites to maybe win this league outright, cannot give them an inch here as Crispy tries to go low and Spectre runs away. Needed to, and will have full possession with it.
Full possession, Futura coming in for the dunk. Crispy is going to deal with that nice and easily, and you can see him playing a little bit smart here. His team is 2 goals up. He doesn't really need to start banging the ball away. He's trying to get some soft touches, keep it close, and just play the possession game. Make sure they keep that possession for as long as they can, and make sure it doesn't go into the other team's hands. Power shot coming in for a dunk. Spectre gonna try and air dribble it over the whole lobby, but Futura blocking that one. Crispy is gonna go for a 50 with Shaney. He's gonna end up winning that one. Mingo coming in for the dunk, and Spectre looking a little bit dangerous there, but it's not going to mean too much, and it is going pretty much back and forth at the moment.
Mingo, decent shot, and Spectre's up, setting himself technically for a double, and it near enough works out for one save as well, but it's only if, buts and maybes right now for their opposition to get out of their own half. They finally do so and fail to can sack the pressure here, so maybe I think VIBE VIBIN has just found that groove, and after maybe the delay could have been potentially that issue after they've been warming up for so long. Half time though, Boopy, and we find ourselves back into VIBE VIBIN's front yard right now.
Absolutely, we're just chilling in their front yard. They are playing this really strong, really well. They have a lot more purpose to their touches. Every single play they make looks dangerous, and it definitely could go in, as that one almost goes in, but power shot just getting back to get the clear, and Vulcan really landlocked in their own half right now. Can't really get out and put some pressure on. Spectre going for a demo on one player, gets a bump on the second. Mingo trying to find this one mid, dropping it down for a teammate. No one's going to find it, and here we are. But again, Spectre going in for the 50, and that goal almost open, but no one really there to follow, and that definitely could have been a chance for VIBE VIBIN again.
Shane, 2 attempts there to scramble the ball past his 6-yard box effectively. He did so eventually, and Futura up and around, and premature jump there. Crispy just has to gent touch or volley it. He goes for the pass, and it's been read by the Irishman once more, and Spectre gifting possession too cheaply by his standards into the middle. No, we will find ourselves at midfield this time around here, and as the clock moves down here, as realistically VIBE VIBIN is just keeping these shots down to a bare minimum. In fact, there has been no shots on target until now, and they'll have to put a better one to get at least one goal.
And you asked for a better shot, and power shot, he's going to deliver, taking it over 2 there. Just plonking that one in the back of the net. A bit of an interesting leave there from Mingo. Could have just got a nice touch into the corner, buy himself some time, but he's going to leave it. And it is going to be the first goal coming in for Vulcan. And only 1 minute left now to find this final goal, but this is Rocket League. Anything can happen, and we might be looking at a 0-second goal, but Mingo trying to force the issue again. Can't quite find the touch, but Crispy really trying to keep this in the Vulcan half. A little bit of a dangerous play coming out from Shane there, but it's not going to find anything. And these mid-air dunks from VIBE VIBIN really are quite interesting for me to watch. And there's going to be a nice fake coming out from VIBE VIBIN, just letting that one bounce into the back of the net. 3-1. And there goes the chances for a comeback.
I think it was credit to their opposition here. Vulcan, they had a few decent passing plays. Sadly got outread on that play, and Mingo will pick up his third goal in this series. Not too bad for a day's work. He will of course look to extend in a quick pass, and potentially may have pulled the shot and the trigger. But sadly caught in two areas here. Another play back into it, no read, unless Spectre goes all the way downfield. Flip reset, not there. Shane just puts it away here, but we are effectively, as some would describe it, as garbage time. Well, let's see if there's anything to be shown. It looks like it's 2-0 series.
Yeah, 2-goal game. The time just dwindling away. Maybe they want to try and find that one more goal just to pad the stats, but it's not going to happen. And VIBE VIBIN going to take the second game in a lot of a better style there. They looked a lot better that game. Everything they did looked very dangerous, and yeah, they're going to take the 2-0 for it.
Well, it's a nice credit to them. 2-0 as well too. I mean, it's not really a surprise to some extent here when you do look at the quality that VIBE VIBIN has played as well too. I mean, one of the brief talking points we were in the green room that Boopy and I was speaking about was especially Zoom, Gex, Shallow Nato, decent players, Musty, Fluke themselves, Maz, Creamy and Rex. So quality players that are very beaten in the past or within the realms of doing so. Just need that bit more experience on their behalf. Compared to the rest of the field, it's them chasing VIBE VIBIN this time around.
For sure, VIBE VIBIN had some pretty mental results, especially in these external tournaments we were talking about. They had a really promising upper bracket run in Euro Rap, but again, we were mentioning Zoom. They did beat Zoom in the first series in the upper final, but losing to them in the grand final, and maybe that's something we'll see later on coming into the playoffs, whether they can actually, hold their own, keep calm, composed, and just get the results they really need to get, as Power Shot is going to put the first one on the board for Vulcan, something we're not really used to, especially from that last game. And wonderful stuff from them. Good pass out from Shane to Power Shot, and it's going to take a player out of the game and put the first one on the board.
Credit where it's due. Fabulous in the wit of the pass. My words, well played by Shane. The find that Mingo will be a small bit upset that he didn't get the play here, as this one back in the middle. Not going to work this time around here, but maybe, just maybe here, Boopy, this opposition side in the form of Vulcan has finally stepped up to the plate.
Maybe they have. Maybe we will see more goals, but from the outcome of the previous games, it doesn't seem likely to me, and Mingo's going to put one in again. It only took them 20-30 seconds just to get that goal back, and now Vulcan find themselves still equalised with VIBE VIBIN, and scoring on a team of this level, it is so difficult. You need to make sure that you're taking all your chances and you're not letting goals in, and it looks like they almost let another one in there, but it is going to ping into the VIBE VIBIN half. Not for long though. Mingo forcing the issue here. Power Shot, a little bit of a dodgy touch there, down to Shane. Shane's going to push this over one. Crispy leaving this one out for his teammate, dodging a little demo there, and Mingo going to take it over one across to Spectre, but the pass is not going to be found, and Vulcan forcing this one into the VIBE VIBIN half, but again not for long, and the pressure from Vulcan really, it comes in waves. There is a little bit of pressure. It does breach into the VIBE VIBIN half, but not for long. It just goes straight back into their half, and they really find themselves on the back foot.
Well, from conceding near enough moments from kick-off, as you've been saying, the pressure has been almost relenting, and just no sign of giving up here as Power Shot will try the attempt for another clearance, and back in this corner it's almost siege like two commits, and Vulcan will just be rotating themselves around, wondering and when they can finally break. But the invite has been sent to VIBE VIBIN. They are living truly rent-free on that opposites in half. They have barely seen their own net. They've barely seen What, even the halfway line? That's how far they've been pushed up here. As Parshot on his back wall trying to defend Crispy's vicious attempt of an attack there. Not happening. And Spectre's in a decent attempt here, just playing Disruptor.
Absolutely. It does just look like Vulcan are really fighting and holding on for this spot. And if we go back to the standings, which doesn't matter at the moment as Powershot is going to find the next goal for his team. Vulcan going one up. A little bit of an unfortunate miss there from Crispy. Going to leave the goal nice and open for a quick tap-in goal. And it's going to be 2-1 to Vulcan. And they're looking strong now. They've taken the second goal. Only 2 minutes left for an answer from VIBE VIBIN. And they have had all the pressure, but they've only had 1 goal so far. So not much to show from it. And maybe that is a little bit of a weakness from VIBE VIBIN. They look like they are putting so much pressure on Vulcan, but Vulcan is not cracking easily. They're dealing with that pressure and they're finding these little counter-attacks they need to find, getting the goals they need, and they've finally gone up in the series.
Well, potential maybe counter as well too, and you say small weakness on VIBE. Is this maybe a worse weakness to an extent here? And maybe I may have miscounted here, but Parshot's only had 4 goals so far this series together. It's been fairly low scoring here, Boopy, but nobody else on this opposition side and for Vulcan's been goal scoring material. Shane's had a few nice attempts at the pass here, but that is it really when it comes to their offense.
Yeah, it just seems to be Powershot finding the chances he needs and slotting one home at the moment. It is working quite well, but I am a little bit worried for VIBE VIBIN. Obviously, the reputation they have is unbelievable, but they are putting so much pressure on, and they are finding it quite difficult to find the goals they need, even despite that they are forcing that ball to be in the Vulcan half for most of the game. It is difficult for them to find those chances they need to score, and maybe they'll have a few games against other teams where they don't have the liberty of having the ball in the opponent's half for so long, and maybe they won't find the chances they need to score the goals. So yeah.
Points well made with 30 seconds left. It's not the case for Vulcan to score goals at this point. The first time in a very long time they're in the situation they must not concede or park the bus. That's all they have to do, and Shane sits in the net, and that one was on the heartstring there. It just hits the woodwork, glances away here for Chirp. Done reasonably well trying to waste time, but Crispy, one shot, and Parshot this time from goal scorer, goal stopper, and Mingo will not get the chance. 2-1 series wise, and the draw is back on the table.
Back on the table indeed, and that is really not something I was expecting. We can see from the stats here 64% field domination coming out from VIBE VIBIN. They really are just keeping the ball in that Vulcan half, putting the pressure on, and it was working up until this point, but you have to look at the stats. Only 3 shots coming out from Vulcan's side, all from Powershot himself, and a lot more shots on the VIBE VIBIN half. They have a lot of chances, they're just not taking them at the moment, and they did really want to take this series 4-0, try and put themselves on the top of the table, but now the only thing on the cards is 3-1 for them, potentially looking at the draw and fighting for that, 4th, 5th spot.
Well, that potentially being the case while we slowly go into game 4 here, but we've mentioned earlier the standing side of things, how teams may not be where they are. Of course, we'll wait till the results obviously to slightly break it down. Don't forget as well, the RCS cast, I presume Art will be on it, maybe a few others as well too. They'll definitely be talking about the Premier Division alongside the others, but it's only week 1. There's still plenty of weeks to get into the groove of things. The season is not defined by week 1. It's a lot more to this as we get game 4 underway here, Boopy, and again VIBE VIBIN, that sort of pressure that you talk about, had the front foot but yet to score here, so that could be that sort of issue that you highlighted in game 3 coming to haunt them here.
Absolutely. If they don't find the chances they need, they're gonna look at them going down in the game and potentially in the series again, but There's a close one. Shane just diving back and finds the save. And Spectre going to put some more pressure on here. Isn't really going to find anything, but that ball going to go to Crispy, and Shane perfectly positioned there to deal with that pass, just blocking it out the way. And maybe Vulcan have sort of found the winning formula to deal with this vibing pressure, just putting a car in the way of the passes they know are going to come out and shutting them down early, stopping the real dangerous chances coming in. And maybe that's what will put them ahead in the series.
Well, I wouldn't say the formulas requires Einstein's IQ to solve out. It is almost elementary. That seems to be here. The coaches, players might say there's a bit more to it right now here. We'll let them still fight it out. Of course, here's Parshop there for the pass, and that's a nice 1-2 back over into the middle. So there is some kind of expansion to the brackets here, baby. It's just whether the case, can they multiply or at least add one to the tally here. So another pass goes in, not being scored into it. I think both sides are afraid to distract from their defenses.
Afraid indeed. They don't want to push up too far and get scored on, but wonderful double bump coming out here, and it's gonna leave the net nice and open for just a nice tapping goal. They're gonna score the first one in this game and bring themselves kind of back into this series, back on the road to finding that 3-1 victory they really desire. And not very good for Vulcan at the moment. They were looking good in that last game, but going down 2 minutes into this game, they are finding it really difficult to score against Vulcan. They do have a good ratio. Power shot obviously having 3 shots last game, 2 of those being goals, so they are finding the chances, but letting Vibing score when you're not getting as many chances as them is really going to put a dampener on this series at the moment.
Especially when the issue is, and this is the first time Matura has scored. It is the first time Bootby as well too, when this side has actually tied things up as well too, and we might just see that upset becoming into a draw. Expectations versus reality. Which are we actually going to see within the next 2 minutes and 36 seconds?
The Englishman doing his hometown proud, doing me proud, and putting one in the back of the net, finally equalising the game for Vulcan, but this does not look very good for their defense. Luckily, Futura again there to save it. Mingo hitting that one out into the midfield, and the clear is not going to be found, and Crispy is almost going to choke that one, hitting the woodwork, but he does find the final touch he needs and puts that one in the back of the net for his team.
Well, how many times do you want to be given the chance to get it out and away, Shane? How many times does the ball need to be in the front of Spectre before he hits the crossbar? A few potential questions. Both sides will need to sharpen up their skills as the season gets on here, but Futura, maybe he's got a taste for blood, or the net too, and a forceful attempt. And it will be Crispy once this time getting the save. Valuable as each second ticks by here for both sides. A pass into the middle. It's perfect. Ooh. It's very much perfect. But Mingo decides to ruin the disruptor, but not good enough.
Not good enough at all. Coming down from the backboard. Does get a touch, but it is going to roll in anyway. And perfectly played from Vulcan there. Just passing it around that last defender on the ground. Hitting the shot low, making it awkward for Mingo. He has to dive all the way down to get a touch on that. He did get a touch, but it wasn't good enough to clear that out of the way. And now we find ourselves with a 2-2 scoreline. And are we going to see a 2-2 series? That shot coming in, but Power's shot going to deal with that one quite nicely. Shane trying to get this one again out of the Vulcan half. A wonderful pass down to Spectre. What can he do with this? Wonderful stuff. Just going to catch that one, flick it nice and easily over the last defender, and all the work that Vulcan put in to score that goal, to equalise, it's not going to be enough as another goal comes in for VIBE VIBIN.
3 games, Vulcan could not find a goal to tie up the games on their terms. Game 4, they found it twice. They're going to have to find for the third time, and when they're going to be doing that, it will be with a 2-goal deficit as Crispy puts in his second in this particular conundrum for them. It will be a 3-1 series if there is no response.
Absolute heartbreak for Vulcan there. 3-2. You have a minute 20 left. You may be able to get back into it, but scoring the fourth one there so quickly, so early on, and almost a fifth as that one just rattles the crossbar and bounces away, but the pressure is still coming in. A dunk coming in from Mingo. Crispy pushing up here, trying to find the backboard. No player there to deal with it. Futura just rushing back to get that clear, and that one's going to land straight to Mingo. Straight back in the Vulcan half. Crispy going for an insane redirect again off the crossbar. And Crispy, how many times do you want to hit the crossbar in this series?
Well, who knows? Maybe the Vulcan might have one to beam up if it finally gets in here. As 30 seconds left to find 2 goals here at this point here. You might as well just leather it and throw all in here. But a couple of 50s and Shane try to force the issue. Should have trusted his teammate in that situation, and it may be costly. It may have prevented them tying things, at least getting closer to that margin of 4-3. And Boopy, with 20 seconds left here, normally I love to call it early. I think this one is done.
I think it is done. I think the final nail in the coffin was that dunk on Shane, and we have seen quite a few opportunities from Shane where he did have the chance to save it. That 50, very unfortunate power shot is going to get a nice redirect off the backboard, just kind of thickening the stats for this one, making it a little bit closer, and he is going to get that final goal, but it does look like VIBE VIBIN will be taking this game. 0.1 seconds left on the clock, and Danny boy, are we going to see a madness here?
Oh, let's find out here, and we will find out. And as you said, rightly so, VIBE VIBIN taking the series 3-1. I wouldn't say it was a surprise that this is the outcome that has happened, baby, but the match could have easily ended up as a draw if a bit of stability happened in the middle of that Game 4's portion. But, and this is the massive but as well, there is now 4 teams tied at the top of at least the leaderboard standing now with a 3-1 record. It just shows you how competitive the Premier Division can be.
Very competitive league. 4 teams getting that 3-1 result. 4 teams stuck at the top of the table, just battling out kind of a 4-way tie to see who's going to take that top spot. If VIBE VIBIN didn't drop that one game, they would just easily have that top spot. But now they need to be fighting out in that 4-way tie, and the same for Vulcan. Quite a few teams did get that 1-3 result, so the same for them. They are fighting out in that kind of 4-way tie to see where they do actually land on the standings. But as you say, it is still early doors. It is week 1. There is a lot of time to rectify those sort of results and claw your way back up that standing table. But the question for me is, Danny boy, are we going to get someone in for an interview?
No, I think we should leave the players to have a brief rest, but we're seeing that is the case, Boopy. I think maybe a brief slight introduction to anybody as well, too, that week 2 is happening officially from the 4th to the 10th of October based on the RSA schedule, and that means at least the Premier Division. You can see it on the Lexa Wikipedia, forwards versus overturn, the 2 sides that are bottom currently onto the leaderboards. Maybe a chance for maybe a bit of redemption there, but maybe a big match as well in the first of VIBE versus Luna Esports, our fabulous sponsor as well, to battling out for potentially top of the leaderboard. Lots still to happen, baby, but with that being the case as well, we've got 1 match left on our docket as well too. The A stream is going on too, so we'll have a short break here, but have a wee quick little look on the other side.
Absolutely. See you guys for the next match in a few minutes.